Moving on, we are to look at the next example and apply the box method to factorize this quadratic expression. If you are to refer to our a, in this case, you have a minus sign. We do not like that, and we want to get rid of this. So the method for us is to factorize minus 1 to our whole expression. We are to factorize a minus 1 to our whole expression. So factor out a minus 1. And inside the parentheses, you should have x squared minus 5x. You should change the sign since you factored out a negative number. And minus 6 now becomes plus 6. Let's now identify our new a, b, and c in the expression inside the parentheses. So a is now 1, b is now minus 5, c is now 6. We are to create a box that the product of two numbers will give you the product of a and c. In this case, 1 times 6. That should give you 6. And the sum of the two numbers should give you b. So minus 5. You are to think of a combination that satisfies this condition. So let's look at the clue we have. The product of the two numbers is a positive number, 6. So the two numbers must be of the same sign. They are either both positive or negative. And if you're referring to their sum is a negative number, that tells us that the two numbers are both negative. So I believe you should have the combination like minus 2 and minus 3, and that gives you 6 when they are multiplied together. When they are summed together, that gives you minus 5. You are to break the linear term apart, minus 5x, into the two numbers you just found, so minus 2 and minus 3. Attach 8x on each term. Let's copy everything else back. So you have minus 1 as the factor outside the parentheses, and inside you have x squared minus 2x minus 3x and plus 6. We should now apply grouping method to group each into pair. Remember, if you are looking at this term here, you have a minus sign attached, so you are to include the minus sign into your second pair. And in between the two parentheses, you are to put a plus sign. Let's factorize the highest common factor in the first parenthesis. So you should have x, and whatever remains should be x minus 2. You have the plus sign. Let's look at the second parenthesis. You can factorize a minus 3, and then inside becomes x minus 2. And now let's apply distributive property where you have x minus 2 in common. So you can factor out a x minus 2. And then you have x minus 3 in another parenthesis. And don't forget the plus sign. And if you are looking at this, plus minus will ultimately get you minus. You can remove the parentheses and get your final answer. Moving on, in this example, your a is not 1 anymore, 2, but is the same way we are to simplify. You are to identify a, b, and c. Remember, always include the sign. So c is minus 4. Then to create a box, the first line, the product of two numbers, will give you a times c. So 2 times minus 4, that should give you minus h. And the sum will give you 7. You are to think of a combination that satisfies this condition. Let's look at the clue. The product of two numbers is minus h, so the two numbers are of different sign, and the sum is a 7. So that tells you then the magnitude of the positive number must be greater than the negative. So you can easily think of the combination as h and -1, that they are times together to give you -h, while added together to give you 7. We are to break the linear term apart, h and -1, attach x to each term, and copy everything else back into the expression. So I have 2x squared plus 8x minus 1x and minus 4. We are to apply grouping method to each two terms in the expression. So remember, you are to include the minus sign in the expression, and we are to put a plus in between the two parentheses. And the next step, we are to factorize the highest common factor in each parenthesis. The first parenthesis, I believe you can factorize 2x, leaving you x plus 4 inside the parenthesis. The plus sign remains as plus sign. The next, I believe you can factorize a -1 that turns this x to a positive number, and you remain x plus 4. We are now to apply distributive property, where you have x plus 4 in common, and then you are to use another parenthesis to perform 2x and -1. Don't forget your plus sign. And if you are to look at this, plus minus will ultimately turns to minus. We are to simplify that, 2x minus 1. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe.